Eddie Lumpo. Oh, I didn't know you were coming in this morning. Hello.
Good morning. It looks like we got a few folks on. We're gonna get started here. Just letting everyone settle in. It is 9:30, and we'll get fired away here pretty soon. I think we're ready to record. Yep. Go ahead. All right. This is the regular scheduled meeting of the nomination committee. It is August the 8th. Our chair is Miss Melanie Doss. If you would, I guess we can go in, if it's okay to call this to order. And then
Call to order. Let's
All
call the
right.
meeting to order. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, then the roll call then. Melanie Doss,
Here.
Rick Thompson.
Here.
Jeff Nally. Here. Jason Carter.
Here.
All right, looks like we have quorum there. Well, and the whole crux and drive of it all is nominations for chair, vice chair, and secretary. So we just need a slate for next year.
We would like to propose the upcoming slate as Jason Carter as chair, as Frank Wagster as vice chair, and Blair Parker as the secretary.
All right, that's.
Did you get the name right? All right.
And then, in that regard, then we'll just need basically a motion and a second, and then that will be our motion, the full board meeting when we come to that portion of the agenda. When we get to the committee updates, then we'll present your slate to the full board for board memorialization and vote then. So, if that is the slate and that's the will of this committee, we'll just need a vote in that regard.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the slate.
Move to approve the slate as presented.
Okay. Got a motion from Jason Carter. We got a second from Jeff Nally.
Any discussion? Motion carries.
All right. Well, in that regard, this is a very efficient meeting. Yeah. You guys have time to, and we can just, you can go stop the recording. Then we've got that, and then we'll have our full board at 10, so you can mingle around.
We're not recording, right? Can we cut the Olympics on for no? I think we're going to win another medal here. I got my review in late for that case.
Oh, yeah.
Is it going to be on today?
Let me take a look. I can't even
I
remember.
didn't see it on the.
I don't think so, no. No, there wasn't any revision since when we initially sent it out, so no. Yeah.
The one I reviewed,
Yes.
I recommended $36,000 penalty.
Yeah.
And I need to see the document that they said they had.
Right.
If they don't have that document, they lied on the affidavit. And there's possible revocation of their license if they lied. And I'm going to file
Their conference
All right, looks like we're getting really close. We're almost there. I've got 9:59, so we'll probably start here in another minute. Hey, good to see you, Blair. Did somebody put Rick into a closet? I don't see him milling around. Oh, okay, yeah. Slipped out the side door, huh? He's a slippery guy. Let's see if I see him. Chairwoman, looks like it is 10 o'clock. If it pleases you, then if you want to call it to order, then I'll read our notice and then get on with it.
Very good. I call to order the August meeting of the Board of Architectural and Engineering Examiners.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Notice of the August 8th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Architectural and Engineering Examiners was posted to the Board of Architectural and Engineering Examiners website on July 5th, 2023. The following agenda was posted on August 1st, 2024. For the roll call, Melanie Doss,
Present.
Blair Parker, Rick Thompson,
Here.
Frank Wagster,
Here.
Dr. Ash,
Here.
Jason Carter,
Here.
Jeff Nally,
Here.
Rob Barrick, Brian Tibbs. I think
Here.
Thank you, sir. Alton Heathcote.
Here, above ground, and ready to serve.
Good. All right. Eddie Jett.
Here.
And James Collins.
Here.
All right. We have quorum. Looks like then we can move on to announcements. I don't have anything for the announcements unless the chair had anything that she wanted to share or any of our membership.
No announcements.
Okay. Then we'll just need to approve the agenda.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
This is a lively group right here, man. I felt that, didn't you? That energy is riveting. Okay, so June minutes then.
Do we have a motion?
Got a-
Second?
Second.
Got a motion from Dr. Ash, second from Rick Thompson. And
There discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
don't forget these mics when they're red. That's the only way we can capture that on the recording. So, and only up, I think 4 at a time. What's that?
Push the thing that says mic, and this time it worked, but it kept coming on a blue light. What is that?
You can only have 4 on at a time. That's why. So if just sort of as a little tip, if you look around, count the mics. If you see right now we've got 4. You got Melanie Doss and Blair Parker, Frank, and myself. So anybody else was going to get that flashing light. So you just have to come off. Like when you talk, you just have to come like this.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet. All right, so I've got June minutes done, then professional society reports. We'll start with Ms. Anderson.
light, red light. Good morning. I am Casey Anderson. I am the Executive Director of the American Council of Engineering Companies of Tennessee. I also come to this board representing the Tennessee Society of Professional Engineers. A couple of things quickly, and I will be very short today. The Tennessee Engineers Conference will be September 29th through October 1st. You all, I think at your last meeting, approved for the engineers on the board to attend that and speak at, we are going to, I think, do a kind of a town hall style meeting on Tuesday, October 1st at lunchtime for that effort. And I'm excited that you all are willing to do that. And I think it's always the years that we don't have lots and lots of agenda items to have that opportunity for an actual conversation, I think is a really good one. So I'm excited that you all are willing participants in that. Also super excited about, I just last night was doing sort of briefs on we have about 60 different presentations during that conference, and some of them are just unbelievably outstanding this year. So very excited about the opportunity there. So encourage all the engineers in the audience online to attend. November the 6th, just to get it on your calendar, we are propping up for the first time. ACEC is going to start a vertical conference. It will be focused mostly on MEP and structural. It will be November the 6th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will certainly be inviting our architect friends. We think about half of that will be focused on on the public market and public projects and things that go through the Building Commission and those procurement agencies, and then half of it will be private sector information. So really excited about that. It'll be from 10 to 4 Central Time at the Four Seasons in Nashville. That evening will be our Engineering Excellence Awards. That is our sort of the Oscars for the engineering world, if you will. We're excited we have started to look at some of those projects for next year and for this year. The call for nominations for those are out right now as well. So excited to see the best of the best again this year. So that's November 6th, which is the day after Election Day. So it should be a fun time to all be together. And just to get on everyone's calendar as well, just January the 10th, which is a Friday, will be our Senior Principals Forum for next year. So from a calendar aspect, I know some of you usually write this kind of stuff down, so that's why I'm saying all of that. The only other thing I will share, other than there is a ton going on in the world, is that we are really excited that we have just propped up a workforce development committee at ACEC that I think is really going to be a game changer for us. Nationally, ACEC is really focused on workforce development. They have added a few staff members that are solely focused on that, and have a really robust committee that is chaired by Rodney Chester of Gresham Smith from here in Nashville, and one of the two co-chairs is Susan Osterberg with Smith Sackman Reed. So we're super excited that we have that much influence up there, but it also puts some pressure on us to make sure that we are doing the best that we can with that here. So our committee kicks off this month, and their goals will be increasing new and future workforce, providing tools to retain and develop the current workforce, promoting the image and positive impact of the engineering industry, and monitoring and contributing to legislative and regulatory policy on workforce issues. So super excited about that. And we think that that's really going to have an impact that hopefully long term you all will see a rise in some of those young folks choosing to go the PE path as opposed to the many other the pressures of the many other industries that try to take the good engineering graduates away. So anybody has questions, I'm here to answer them, but otherwise I always appreciate your service to this important endeavor that is the Board of Architectural and Engineering Examiners. Super. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Casey. Appreciate you. Looks like Ashley Cates, they're in their annual meeting with AIA, but is there anyone else here for architects before I move on to the next? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on then to, I don't see Nathan Ridley either, but perhaps there is a landscape architect among us. Let me see, other than Blair. All right, hearing and seeing none, unless Blair wanted to jump in there, I think we'll move on then to interior design, and Hannah or Claudia, Tiffany.
Oh, and we are on. Hi, I'm Hannah Durham with American Society of Interior Designers, current president-elect and incoming president as of October. So next time we meet will be officially our new board that was slated for 2024 to 25. Given the rest of the reports, we did have a successful Inspire event. That is what was a post-NeoCon event here in Nashville. So just bringing local and regional products to a large show that's hosted by J&J Interiors. And so it's always been a huge event for all industry professionals. We decided to have a student event since they are off of school. So there's a lot that are local that still wanted to be involved. So we hosted that with a panel discussion on the next chapter. And that was a huge success. So we'll probably continue to do that as well. We do now have announced officially that Capitol Day on the Hill is going to happen Tuesday, September 24th. So National ASID is encouraging at least a portion of the local chapters to attend there in DC. So details were discussed on our quarterly chapter advocacy forum webinar. That's hosted by Lauren Early, our Associate Director of Government and Public Affairs. So we will, and that really hasn't been decided until recently, so it wasn't currently in our budget for 2024. They're encouraging us to add that to the budget for 2025. So in our next annual strategic planning meeting, which is actually going to be held on August 23rd for us in Chattanooga, we're going to discuss that, see if we have the funds for it, and send 1 or 2 people. But we'll definitely have that in the budget for 2025 as well, so we can have a presence for Tennessee. At that strategic planning meeting, we'll set the budget and overall goals for the coming year. That includes advocacy opportunities, as I'm sure you've heard us talk about, so we'll continue those efforts. This will also act as our monthly board meeting as well, and be in conjunction with a social lunch and a CEU with our Chattanooga district members, just try to interact with those. We're really making a plan to, Nashville's not the only district in Tennessee, so we want to make sure and try to visit as much as possible and make sure that they feel loved from their board. The annual state conference is held on September 19th at 1410 event venue. As we've previously announced, we have had more committee meetings and planning sessions for that. So in lieu of our design awards presentations, which that will actually be held next year, we do that every other year, we've actually set the details for a first ever tablescape competition. That's going to be between teams of designers, students, and industry partners. So in past years, we've had some student-only competitions, but this year we really want to get them involved in networking with other local industry professionals. So that should be fun. So we'll see what comes out of that and maybe make it a regular thing here every other year. We'll also host a keynote speaker as usual with a dinner and a cocktail hour with industry partner yearly sponsors. And all events throughout the day are going to be focused on the increasingly relevant theme of designing for the census. We will also be representing at, just as the industry, at Design Edge Nashville. That's a new event at Music City Center. It's October 4th and 5th. It's a high-end residential, hospitality, kitchen and bath trade only exhibition. That's really hosted by High Point Market. So really similar to NeoCon, they're kind of bringing that locally. So whereas NeoCon is very much commercial focused, this is kind of giving the residential focus. So we'll have a booth there and more details to come on that. And of course, as always, follow us on the socials so you can get more of those details. And I will hand it over to Claudia.
Thank you so much. Hey, everybody. I'm Claudia Lofton, the president for the IIDA Tennessee chapter. So we've got a lot going on, and with October being our Tennessee Interior Design Awareness Month, we're kind of both ramping up for a bunch of events that will be focused around interior design awareness coming up this fall. So To recap a little bit of what we've been focusing on towards the end of the summer is a lot of our students and professionals. We've had a lot of interns in the Nashville area specifically over this summer. So we did a send-off, kind of a congratulations of finishing your internships before they went back to school, in a mixer with a lot of professionals and interns, which was really great. And we had a statewide CEU focused on professional development this past month. And our new member meet and greet will be coming up next week on August 14th. So we try to hold those quarterly. It's just a quick connect call for any new IIDA Tennessee members that join throughout the year. AIA's Emerging Professional Group has reached out to us, so we are going to be doing a joint Welcome to Nashville event taking place in September. We're still finalizing the date and place, but this will be a good way for design professionals to get together in one place, welcome new graduates to the Nashville area, and just get to know each other a little bit better. And then in October, we have, we'll be kicking off our Interior Design Awareness Month with an event at Belmont along with the students here in Nashville. October 3rd will be our statewide Design Awards Gala. So our submissions for entry for projects to be considered for those is open, and ticket sales for that event will go live on Monday. October 10th in Memphis, there is a 901 Design Fest, which is kind of similar to what Hannah was just talking about with the Inspire event, but it's a great booth event with vendors and design professionals to gather. So that's coming up, and we'll have a presence there as well. And then the 22nd, similarly in the Knoxville area, KnoxCon will be happening on October 22nd. So, and then Nashville Design Week will be kicking off in October as well. So that'll be the 28th through the 1st. So there will be no shortage of events to attend in the month of October. And then we are still working towards a November 7th and 8th professional development workshop. We're planning to do that statewide in-person events with lots of speakers and different opportunities to have some professional development focused events. And then lastly, we will share some joint ASID and IIDA events that are upcoming. So again, in October, you're going to see us every week probably. But we will have a joint advocacy meeting October 9th. We're going to host that at Tailgate Brewery, and we really encourage all professional disciplines within the design realm to come. We are welcoming the public as well, just to let them interact and learn a little bit more about what we do. We'll be showcasing some student design work at this event, and it'll also be a fundraiser focusing on student membership for both ASID and IIDA, and to encourage future engagement with the organizations in our field.
Also, the National Consortium for Interior Design, so as previously stated, that is in conjunction with IIDA, ASID, and CIDQ. They've announced that financial support for 2025 state lobbying efforts is now available upon application. So that info was just sent by Marcy Marola. She's the Senior Director of Advocacy for IIDA, and we will submit our application locally by September 13th. So more info to come on that. As usual, the NCIDQ examination is happening in October, so for the fall term, so that's the 1st through the 31st. And as is announced today, UT Chattanooga students are now required to sit for that first part of the exam. So that's the IDFX. And that was a few years ago. They announced that you do not have to have your full hours under a licensed professional to sit for all parts. If you want to take that first part, all you need is your is to graduate. So that's now a requirement to receive your diploma. So again, just encouraging more and more interior design students to sit for that full exam there. And that is all I have. Any questions for either of us?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Claudia. I always learn so much from these association meetings, you know, like that. I saw that when they mentioned that residential expo, I was going to be hard to keep my wife away from that one. So I'm in trouble. I'm a little scared. But thank you for bringing that information. I appreciate that. I inadvertently, and I apologize, Ms. Herron, skipping over you. I saw Ray Tant down here, and when I didn't see him, I moved on. But without further ado, Suzanne Herons for civil engineering.
Good morning. I'm Suzanne Herron. I will do that. Did that work? Excellent. Yeah, I'm Suzanne Herron, representing the Tennessee section of the American Society of Civil Engineers, and we are very excited about the Tennessee Engineering Conference that's coming up in September. So we are one of the co-hosts with ACEC for that and encourage our members to attend. We also have a student session with where we bring in about 50 students from all the schools across the state and work with them on some sessions. So that's always a fun day. A couple of our branches are have some events going on that I just want to throw out there. The Chattanooga branch is hosting a Chattanooga Development Symposium on August 13th. So that'll be a good opportunity to learn about development in Chattanooga specifically. Let's see, the Concrete Pipe Association is working with several of our branches as well to bring the School of Rock. So the Nashville School of Rock, I believe, is going to be in October. And the proceeds from that go to the Nashville Branch Scholarship Fund. So we appreciate that event and the scholarship funding that it brings. Let's see. We also, well, in January, the Memphis, I think I mentioned last time I was here that the Memphis is hosting ERIMAC, which is the ASCE leadership training for all the regions on the East Coast. So that's going to be a good time, a good event in Memphis, and they're always looking for donations for that event as well. Let's see, as y'all may know, the Tennessee section of ASCE puts together a report card every 5 or so years, looking at all the infrastructure across the state. So we're probably looking at starting on research for the new report card next year. And Monica Sarton, one of the Nashville branch members, is working with ASCE leadership from other states in bringing best practices for the report card process to other states as well. So yeah, we're looking at releasing our next report card either in 2026 or 2027. So, but we're excited that Monica is working with other branches or other states to bring the best practices. So,
Hey, Susan, quick question. How do you assimilate the information for the report card?
We have a committee, and there's various, and each committee, the committee has various people that have, that take on the different studies. So, for example, the power line, or
Electrical engineers do power lines.
Yes.
Civil engineers do water and sewer.
Yeah.
Roadway engineers do roadways.
So we're covering what? All the airports, the waterways, electricity, roads. So we have groups that go in and study each of those with like TDOT and the people that that have the information.
Is that a
So-
published document, and where is it available?
It is. It's on the website. Let me research that. Let me go find that, and I'll get that to you before today.
Thank you.
So yeah, the last report card that was released was in 2022, and it should be on the ASCE website. There's one nationally as well as for Tennessee. So yeah, I'll get that to you. So, and yeah, I know more about that than I, am. I'm stumbling a little bit here. So, any other questions? So, it sounds like we need to, we may need to come back in and do a report card overview, bring Monica in and do a report card overview. So, okay, yeah, we'll do that. Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. I saw Mr. Ridley slip in, so if you would, we'll have you move in that direction. And Blair, he responds. I mean, you just text him and boom, he was here. That was amazing. So.
We try to be responsive to our board representatives. Madam Chair, members of the board, I'm Nathan Ridley. I represent the Tennessee chapter of the American Society of Landscape Architects. I have 2 elections to report to you on, one that you don't care about and maybe one that you do. Our chapter has a new president. It's Chris Jansen. We're thrilled. He practices here in Nashville, and he's going to bring a lot of energy to our group, and we're tickled about that. The other election that you may care about happened a week ago today on August the 1st, and there's some changes. 4 incumbents were defeated in the General Assembly. John Lundberg from Upper East Tennessee, Bristol, lost a hot race to Bobby Harshbarger. That name might sound familiar. He's the son of the congressman from that district. John was a 20-year legislative veteran, and Mr. Harshbarger ran to his right, which is sort of an interesting development. Frank Nicely, just outside of Knoxville, another long-term incumbent, was defeated handily by someone who had not run for political office before. So that sort of rattled the legislative process for the folks just up on that hill there. On the House side, John Reagan, a committee chair from Oak Ridge, a retired Air Force guy, was defeated in Oak Ridge. That might have been more of a local issue, a very popular young man that ran, Mr. Scarborough, who ran against him. And then maybe most shocking at all, and particularly just on a personal level, because over time she became a good personal friend, Patsy Hazelwood from Signal Mountain in Hamilton County was defeated 100 votes, 120 votes. And that sort of leads into my little sermon. I know everybody in this room goes to vote, but some of y'all are lying to me. Our turnout was 14%. I mean, we send billions of dollars to the Ukraine for them to have the right to be their own country and conduct elections and do business that way, and then we sort of forget to vote. I know folks will go vote in November because it'll be deluge, but actually the elections that affect you more are those little state and local ones, but I'll quit preaching now. Legislative activity is calm now. It's just as all the others have mentioned, it's conference time for them. They had the Southern Legislative Conference at the Greenbrier in West Virginia. The National Conference of State Legislatures just ended yesterday in Louisville, Tennessee. So some of the members not under electoral pressure would attend those conferences and represent the state well. And then last but not least, we're really excited. On a local level, on a state level, we have 2 landscape architects who have been recognized as national fellows, or who will be recognized as national fellows at the formal meeting in Washington, D.C. And both are here in the Middle Tennessee area. Kim Hawkins Partners, that y'all have heard of, and also Larry Mizell. Larry's a LSU grad, and I call him the raging Cajun of landscape architecture in Tennessee. He's probably 80 years old, but he has the energy of a teenager, and he organizes our lunch and learns for the section, and he makes the young ones come. because he gives them free lunch. But they're not used, it's just like the baby lawyers in our office, they're not used to interacting with people because of the pandemic. And just on a professional level, that is hard because you get work by interacting with people. But he has driven attendance. He can put 30 people, 30 licensed landscape registrants of this board in the room. And they talk amongst themselves and they learn something. So anyway, we're excited about that. But Larry and Kim are beacons of excellence for the profession. And both of them have affected the built environment throughout not just Middle Tennessee, but the state and the Southeast. And we're really proud of them. And that's all I have. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nathan. All right. Unless I don't believe we have any other professional society reports here. So I think we're ready for the director's report. This will be largely informational, no action items on this one. We'll just hit the budget. This will be pretty uneventful. At the last meeting, we reviewed financial reporting through April. So we only have 2 more months of records. So we're only looking really at May and June. And I didn't see anything that just jumped out at me. I mean, everything was trending pretty much according to what I've seen historically through prior fiscal years. But we're tracking overall year-end 361 in surplus, adding to our reserve. So unless you have any questions, yes,
I've got
sir.
a question.
Please.
Hello, Glenn.
Hey there.
How are you?
Good.
One is, when do we prepare and submit the budget for our, I guess, our request to the legislature for funding?
Yeah. That typically happens. It always happens after fiscal year, so that it'll be a couple months. That's sort of ongoing process. It's not like that turn-in date necessarily on the syllabus back in college that we all remember. It's sort of a process. It works its way through budget, through on our side, through greater fiscal as well, and it has to work its way through the administrative chain. So at some level, they'll ask for our recommendations, should there be any. As far as I know, in reg boards, if where you're going with that one is the grants, where we typically go
that's
is
where we're going.
Yeah, and that's typically, I think we're the only board that does grants, and so it's not like I'll have to fight for anyone's attention span, in that regard. So that's nice, on that front. So I've already communicated with our leadership when that time comes what the desire is as far as increasing that to 450. So at this point, we just have to wait on time. We have to see where that goes, but it'll be a couple months before they start having those discussions. But we have to clear June. Well, we're in August, and so they usually do a reconciliation for the month or two after, and you'll get your final numbers at your next meeting. But no one really wants to pivot and look on to the next fiscal year for those budgets until they've already cleared this one. So
Okay.
and that's we're really close. So you're asking at the right time. This is about budget season, in another couple months.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, that was all I've got on budget. So I think we can move to the NCARB annual meeting update. That was let's take a look at that one. That was in Chicago this past June 13th through 15th. And then Mr. Thompson, if you had anything for us.
Excuse me while I find my notes.
Did Melanie hide those from you?
Pardon me?
Did Melanie hide those from you?
She did.
Yeah, I thought so.
And my name tag. Thank you for putting that back. Yes, we had a very good meeting in Chicago for the NCARB's 2024 annual business meeting. It was business as usual, except for we had several resolutions that were on board. Most of them were housekeeping type of resolutions, things that had expired that we had to vote on to, go ahead and take that off the books and off the record. Had a lot of conversation about different topics. AI was a huge topic, and its opportunities for our profession, threats for our profession, And so it looks like if used properly, which is true with anything, if you use something properly, then it's going to be really good for the profession. It looks like everyone seems to agree that it's not going to put us all out of business because we still have to, someone has to review and seal the documents. And no offense to the attorneys, but I think they're not going to let that happen if they don't have somebody to talk to about that. So, but anyway, that seemed to be a hot topic, and it's just changing so rapidly every day. You know, the incremental times 10 or whatever that number is. It's just amazing what they can do from this week to next week. It's I'm not that technically proficient, so it's not going to bother me. So, but anyway, that was a real good topic. The most controversial topic, and I'll end on this one, was the option to reallocate the regions in the country, and the Tennessee is in Region 3, and it's the southern region. We took, and thank you for the board for supporting us unanimously to vote against that reallocation of the regions, because they had arbitrarily pulled Tennessee out and put North Carolina in. I mean, it didn't make any sense to us, and it didn't make any sense to anybody else in the country either. So it was you had to have a 2/3 vote for it to pass. It went just the opposite. It was denied, and you know, from six regions to 5, 2 of the regions were going to be combined, and neither one of the regions apparently like each other. So they were all against it, and out of unity, pretty much the rest of the NCARB votes were in opposition to that. So I have no idea if that'll come back up again. Probably will. Frank,
I think I heard them say if it gets voted down, then that's it.
Okay.
Now, you know, you get 2 presidents down the line, and it'll probably come back up. But that's what they said anyway.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah. But, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing to reallocate numbers of states or jurisdictions in the regions, because one region has 6, and their opportunity for leadership is very limited because they don't have the numbers of members and that kind of thing to get them involved and get up in the upper echelon. So that was part of the reason. But just the way they went about it was kind of like top secret thing, and all of a sudden, here's what we're going to do, and you're going, why didn't you talk to me about that? So, but anyway, I won't get into all that. Since it's done, we voted it down. So that was the really big issue we had, and everything else went pretty smoothly and typically to plan. Frank?
Yeah, there was there was one other issue that really doesn't affect us because we'd have to change our laws. But there was a resolution passed to lower the requirement to become licensed. They're looking for new paths to licensure, and they have lowered the requirement to high school diploma or a GED. Now, yeah, we voted against it. However, it passed. And to give you an example of how that's being, I'll bring up California. Because California, if you look at their laws, you can not have any kind of degree. And it's like 12 years of experience. You know, what they do is the lesser education you have, the more years experience you have to have before you can become licensed. And I kind of don't think that's terribly bad as long as you can't take the exam until you've had that experience. I don't want somebody out of high school to be able to go take the exam. That's the main thing, main reason we were against that. And even though it passed, that's NCARB model law. That's not Tennessee law by any means. And for us to do that, we would have to change our laws. And so, yes, we voted against it because basically we didn't think it was a good idea. And it passed, I've forgotten the exact vote, but it was not by no means unanimous. It was like 20 to 30. I've forgotten what the numbers were. But anyway, that's something we might look at in the future, but I don't think I would be, a proponent of doing that unless you couldn't actually take the exam until you actually had the experience. Otherwise you'd have somebody out of high school go, I want to take the exam, and then take whatever they found in it and tell everybody what the questions were, But that's the kind of thing I would worry about. But anyway, that did pass. It is NCARB model law, which is controversial.
Yeah, those competency-based models, matrices that you were describing and touching on, those seem to be picking up some traction in some of the industries, and so we're watching them. And they discussed that in our MBA forum when I was there this past spring. And Frank made a great point. I mean, at the end of the day, what they pass, it's really what's in our statute. That ultimately matters. So, we still look at what the industry is doing because there might be some things that we can borrow or adhere to. So thank you for, putting that on our radar. And so that might be a discussion we have in the future as they really flesh it out, though. But we'll let California do that for us. Is that all you? I could tell that was the burning desire of this board. And so, thank you for just saying it out loud. All right, anybody else?
So may I ask a question? So I understand this, that if you graduate from high school, work with a firm, presumably architectural firm, for 20 years, for example, you can you can become licensed, or you can sit for you can sit for the exam anytime you want during that time, and then become licensed when you reach that, for example, 20 years.
In California, you're talking about? Or
I'm talking about NCARB's model law.
I didn't see that they limited when it would be up to the state as to when you could take the exam.
Yeah. But that's how it is in California right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit nuanced in the sense that we all know the three-legged stool, and so if you're getting less of one of that leg, then you get more of the other leg. So even the exams, they were talking about maybe changing that to make it more competency based and add in modules, whatever. But they're going to kind of have to work all that out if they're going to do that. So they may require more experience and more exam. You might have to have more of that on your plate if you're not going to have but even the exam, it's like if it's going to be sort of written problems and then graded, then I don't know how you get around the subjective, so that's the other issue too. Who is that panel? How is that being rated? All that. So they've got a lot to work out before we'll ever probably look at it and unpack all that, because right now we're not having any problems getting folks licensed here. And so once they figure that out and come back with something that we can discuss, intelligibly, then we can map it and dive in.
Yeah, the main thing we run into is somebody gets their licensed in California, and then they want comedy in Tennessee, and they don't meet our educational requirements.
That still is going to look like something I made in shop class, though. You know what I mean? By the time they keep one more of that, a little bit less of that, and so anyway, we'll figure it out. But I'm so thankful that we have our experts, you guys, that go to these conferences and bring that back, because it is important that we know what's sort of happening in front of us, and also for clarification too, because our minds can run wild, and so we need someone to bring back the hard data and say, well, this is really what's happening, and this is where this is going. So that's a great service to us, whether we adopt it or not. We need to know what it is. So thank you for doing that. Thank you all.
Just real quick, Frank, that process that the architects are looking at doing, it sounds exactly like what the engineers did a few years ago, which resulted in the decoupling of the exam with the experience. and has just created a huge mess, where we have people that are, graduated from college with no years of experience that can now pass the PE exam with no experience. And NCES is trying to find a way to address that now, but they went to, they changed the exam so that it's computer-based and made it so that it was, something that somebody right out of school could pass, and it's just become a real mess. So good luck trying to stop that from happening, but that looks like the architects are headed the same way that the engineers did, and we don't know how we're going to straighten it out yet.
Well, no, we in Tennessee, and you can take the architectural exam out of, if you have a NAB accredited 5-year or master's degree. But you can't be, and you can take the exam, but you can't be licensed until you've had the experience.
Ours is the same.
Yeah.
The problem with the exam more than anything else when it becomes so academic.
Yes.
Dr. Ash, I just want to get you on the mic if you could.
Yeah, I was saying that the problem itself is with the exam when it becomes so academic that does not require the experience to actually pass it. So that's where, anybody can, right out of school, can take it and pass it, and then creates this mess that you're talking about.
Well, one last comment about that is that the part of the discussion for the opposition to that was, you're not going to have somebody out of high school that can pass this exam. Right. I mean, it's crazy, and of course we voted against it for two reasons. One, it's not realistic, and secondly, we can't do it in the state of Tennessee. But we pointed that out, is that why would you do this? Why would you let someone that's out of high school take the exam without any training, any education? But then, like Frank said, without the documented experience, which, that usually takes, 4 to 5 years for the NCARB, in that range. So, and that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to get a job. But it was, everyone's always looking for that alternative path. How do we get more licensure? And this is no offense to NCARB, but in order to take that exam, you have to have an NCARB record. And in order to get that record, you have to pay a fee. And you have to renew that record every year. So, it was, my opinion, was silly, but it passed. Yeah. But good luck to all of them trying to get licensed in Tennessee.
Right. Yeah. That's right. We still got our code.
We still got
yeah,
code.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right. Unless there are any more comments on the meeting, looks like we've got committee reports. We only have one committee that met this morning at 9:30, and they were ready to take action. They didn't play around. They got right after it. So Chairperson, if you would like to introduce that.
Thank you very much. The Nominations Committee met this morning, and we present the following slate for board approval. Chairperson Jason Carter, Vice Chairperson Frank Wagster, and Secretary Blair Parker.
And they did vote, so that would be their motion. So that was their nomination, their slate of officers. So that we do, in that regard, have a motion for that slate.
So we need
a second, and then of course discussion, all that.
I second the motion.
Do we have discussion? Any opposed? All in favor?
What are you looking at me for?
Aye.
All opposed?
And I would like to thank Dr. Ash. He ran a tough campaign for Sergeant of Arms, and but maybe that'll work out next year.
Motion carries.
All right, that's our committee. Thank you for your work in that regard. Appreciate that. It doesn't take too long, but it's still important work. We've got to, we always want to convene and make sure we do that. So I'm glad we were able to get that done. Looks like public comments. This is our public comment period related to items on the agenda. I'm going to go take a look at the sign-in sheet behind me. While I do that, Ms. Griffey, if you could see if there's anyone online that signed in or would like to or is indicated for that'd like to speak. Don't see anyone. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any public comments. Ms. Griffey, do we have any public comments? Okay, no public comments then. I think we are ready for the legal portion. The only thing we have underneath that is the legal report. Ms. Martin, of course, you recognize her. To my right, your left, our chief counsel, and then to her right is Ms. Ariel Carter. She's responsible for this report that's before you today. And then honorable mention to Ms. Erica Smith, if you would raise your hand. There we go. She also sort of rode sidecar on this one and was helping out as pitching in until we get our full-time person to step in. All right, Ms. Carter.
Yeah, I just want to remind you guys that, so Ms. Carter will not be assigned to this board long-term, but while we've been figuring out staffing, she and Erica stepped in graciously and have been looking over some of these complaints. But we do expect at the next board meeting we'll have a more permanent solution for legal. I will still be your chief counsel. And then we didn't have an update worth putting on the agenda for the rules, but I know you guys asked about it last time, and we have been working on those and moving those forward. So I expect really that at the next board meeting we'll be able to talk about rules a little bit more. So yeah, I told Ms. Carter to read the cases into the report like you guys had requested, and to just pause and so you can ask questions in between each case. Thank you.
Hello. So we have 3 cases on the legal report today. The first one is case number 2024024121. This is an anonymous complaint that was submitted against the respondent for engaging in the practice of engineering without a proper certificate of authorization. The complaint did not include any attachments, but it did contain a business address. The respondent did not provide a response. Council reviewed the address, and the results were for a junk removal company. Council searched the name provided and found 2 businesses. The first firm had multiple locations, and one was in Tennessee and had the same address as the junk removal company. Council believes that this complaint was meant to be against this firm. The second was advertised as an engineering firm, but it was located outside of the state. The commission, the board would not have authority over this matter just due to lack of jurisdiction. The firm that was advertising in Tennessee, their services were for creating ideas and solutions that improves automation with an emphasis on control and or monitoring. There was no mention of engineering or architectural services. And then based off that information, I believe that this matter would be best determined by the contractors board, but it was believed that the respondent meets the exception under the specialty licenses and would not require an exam. And so for this one, I recommended dismissal due to lack of jurisdiction. However, I do know that for this board, you guys have a review, and so if the board would like me to have a referral to an engineering firm for review for the next legal report, thank you, then I can do that as well.
Okay. So historically, and I've been on the board for 12 years, the protocol is to refer a complaint to a member of the practice against which the complaint is made, engineering, landscape architecture, interior design, or so on. I guess I've got a question. If this was in all of in fact, in each of the 3 that we have before us today, I'm assuming that none of these were deferred to either an architect or an engineer as a member of this board for review prior to today, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. I strongly recommend, and I will bow to the decision that the rest of the board members support, that from this point forward, every complaint, as it's always been done historically, be referred to the correct associated representative, a correct associated member of the board for review and a recommendation with legal consultation. I don't disagree with the recommendation that was made to this one, but I'm about to disagree with the recommendations that were made for the other two. So I'm just giving you a preface to what's coming.
Yeah, and of course, yeah, we can do that. And I know typically we do have these expert reviews. Now there are some that are just straight up down the center, and so those may still appear, on your report. I wouldn't necessarily now. By expert review, it's a little easier for our board because you guys are the experts. We send it to you, so that makes it a lot easier. In other cases, other boards, programs, whatever, when we send out the expert review, there's a cost associated with that, and also in turnaround, but also in fee. But so that's not necessarily the case here. So it doesn't necessarily apply, and so we can do our due diligence and have that extra layer, and that works out fine. Now I will say, self-reporting complaints, typically there's a process that's already in place with those. And so, number two, perhaps we may have to get into that a little bit more based on that review. And we can certainly send that one for review. Number three, and don't want to steal Ms. Carter's thunder, but that one's not going to be on the report after all. That one was already settled. And so that was a duplication. So we can just move 3 off the board since we're talking about the complaints. So we're only looking at 1 and 2 in front of us. And 1, it does sound like you might be prepared to move on that one. But number 2, we kind of expected, just so you know, too, that we were kind of expecting there to be some discussion on number 2 because it's not typically we have a process for self-reporting. And this one had, because of the prior history, offered us an opportunity for more discussion on that one. So we kind of expected that. And that might still need to go out for review, to your point. But while we're in transition, there's been some deviation but in sort of the standard, but not so much in the sense that those bases weren't covered either. So thank you for bringing that up.
I would think that because of the changes, it's ever more important that it go to an appropriate member.
And they will, and they are. If you'll notice, a lot of folks have already been reached out to. I know there's been some back and forth with Mr. Thompson, and of course with some of the other members as well. So those are going out for review. So I didn't want you to think that that's just as you could tell too. When have we had a report that's only had two complaints on it? So that's not usually the norm for us, and so that there's some deviation there already in that regard. But I suspect you'll have a more robust report in October, and then you'll see some more of that same
expecting
pattern.
Bad behavior. We have a full moon or something coming up.
Well, it just sort of kind of you see the trends as they pick up, and sometimes they come together all at once. It's kind of like you go to lunch and you could step right in the counter to put your order in one day, and the next day you've got a line back out the door. It's just sometimes it works that way. You can see the wave coming, and so I don't necessarily see a tsunami or anything, but you're going to have a report more of what you're accustomed and used to looking at next meeting. So I didn't want you to be alarmed because you see some deviation on this one. So anyway, we're working that out, and we're going to get there. But appreciate you highlighting that as well. So we have an opportunity to discuss that and provide those assurances that you're looking for. So I guess we can get back to number 1 then. Is that okay? All right, let's do that. Thank you.
So do we want to accept and review and discuss 1, or do we want it to be reviewed by a board member and then brought back at the next?
I think given the nature of the complaint, that I think it's satisfactory.
Okay. Okay.
The recommendation from the council is satisfactory.
Okay. So do we have a motion?
Motion to accept.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And keep in mind, too, we have the file, too. So there's times if we get into the file, we can answer some of those questions as we go. We typically will do that with some of our other programs too. We don't rely solely on the expert reviewer. In this case, we often do because this is a different model than what we use in some of the other programs. Since you are expert reviewers and you're familiar with the case, it's just easier. But we also have the case file too if we have to get into it.
Okay, for the second one, it is case number 2024-007-221. And this one, the respondent self-reported that their license was suspended in another state due to tax-related issues. This occurred on or around January 25th, 2024. The respondent stated that they're working with accountants regarding the issue, and as of March 14, 2024, the license in the other jurisdiction have been reinstated. Council recommends that this respondent be assessed a civil penalty of $500 for a violation of Tennessee Code Annotated 62-2308A1F.
Okay, go ahead.
Need your mic. Sorry about that.
Type of license, professional engineer / architect. Are they both an engineer and architect?
One moment, I can check there.
Well, was the respondent practicing engineering in Tennessee during that period?
Not that I can tell from.
Did he? I guess did he seal a drawing in the state of Tennessee? Is he domiciled in Tennessee?
One moment, sorry.
Sure.
Okay, so he's an engineering. It's an engineering firm for the license. And then, to my understanding from the complaint, they weren't practicing. It was just a self-reporting situation. They just have a license that's active in Tennessee, but they're not
domiciled in Tennessee?
Like my understanding is that they have multiple businesses just in different states, but I'm not entirely sure if they're from Tennessee, if they live here permanently or full-time. They just sometimes do business here.
So would this be a report that we would like to have a board member review and then consult with legal and a board member review and then discuss at the next board meeting?
If that's the will of the board, you could certainly do that and just represent it at the next one.
I'd like to make a recommendation that it be deferred to one of the members of the board. And then you said, Ariel, they're engineering based. It's an engineering based firm.
Yes, it's an engineering based firm, and they are out of state.
Okay, then I'd recommend that it be deferred to one of the members of the board that is in the engineering practice.
Okay.
I would like to point out one thing before you review it, is that given the last case that I was reviewing, I went back and relied on my information in my teal blue cover. Thank you. And one of the things that I'm
really
I'm
makes your eyes pop.
Well, I know where it is in my pile, but I did appreciate the fact that they reported this within the 60-day limit, because if they're over that, they can have their license revoked. So anyway, just compliment to this person. So.
It's also it's not related to something he did. It's just
Tax
issues, and that is, it has nothing to do with his area of profession.
Absolutely.
So we may need to refer it to an accountant too. I mean, we're going to cover our bases on this one, But yeah, I think that's good. We're going to we'll put it on the rotation, and I'm sure one of these fine young gentlemen over here will pitch in, and we'll give you the case file, and you can we'll represent it the next one.
We are all accountants.
We're all accountants.
All right. Well, then we'll just need a motion in that
Motion.
regard. Yes, ma'am.
Alton, is that your motion? Would you like to turn that into a motion?
I actually can't make a motion.
Oh, that's right. That's right. My apologies. Do we have a motion?
I will make the motion that this come back at the next meeting, once it's reviewed by one of the design professionals. Board
Do we have a
members.
second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The last case is 20240255541. And that case, as Glenn said earlier, has already been presented in the June legal report. It's a duplicate, so we'd like to remove that one from this legal report.
I don't know if, unless legal has anything else they want to add, is that we're good on that front? Okay. All right, well, we are done with the legal section, so, yes, sir.
I'd like to just add a comment, and I think I agree with Alton regarding the participation with the design professionals. I'm a landscape architect. I see things differently than the architects, interior designers, and engineers do, as we will see differently than you as attorneys. And I just think it seems to be a safer approach to include the design professionals, because I believe that when a decision is made and a challenge takes place, I believe having the design professionals supporting the action would be a stronger case, provide a stronger case. And I'm not an attorney. It just seems that way to me, so.
But you did literally sleep in a Holiday Inn Express last night, so you might be all right. Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, I would like to express my gratitude to the legal staff. I really appreciate getting their opinion while I'm reviewing it. It's important to get their perspective. So thank you for what you do. And I know it's kind of difficult dealing with this group here. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we do appreciate you. Thank you.
And I want to echo Rick's, I guess, compliment. Yeah, thank you to the legal staff. While I have taken exception to this particular thing, I've always very much appreciated the guidance and sometimes direction and counsel that they've given me in each of the times that I've had to review a case. It's been invaluable, and I've appreciated it. And there may have been times where I could have misinterpreted something that each of you put me back on the right track. Again, I don't mean this as an admonishment. I agree with what Blair said and what I was trying to reiterate earlier, that I think it's extremely important that as a board member and with actual practice experience and hopefully knowledge of the laws and rules, that we do bring a unique and I think invaluable perspective on the reviews for each of these cases. And I do agree that I think it also lends credibility to whatever the recommendation is. So thank you.
I'd like to echo your comments that it is difficult to deal with this group. So.
Oh, the profundity of Dr. Ash. I appreciate it. Maybe next year's Sergeant of Arms. We'll see. All right. That's perfect. Thank you. Chair, we're ready for new business then.
Does anyone have new business that they would like to discuss? I would like to revisit, or myself, have just an update on what the process is or interest is in a newsletter. Yeah. I know that we had a committee in the past, a number of things have changed. And is that something that is an option to pursue? We were going to check into, I think, hiring an outside firm or doing it in-house, or is there any new information on that?
What's that? No, it's not. Yes, that's actually been on my radar. It's on I've got some action lists I've been tracking. One of the things is that you described the history well. We pitched it out. We sent out a broadcast trying to gauge some interest, looked at contracting it, then we went full circle back to, well, it's going to happen in-house, and then didn't have the personnel, and then sort of was thinking about our public information office, because Reg Boards doesn't have business development like fire or like captive does, and the insurance side of the shop does. And so, again, one thing that we have seen is that we do have a support team, an admin team, and I'm really hoping, and I've been sort of lobbying that they take that one on, and so I haven't forgotten about it, and I'll tell you why I haven't forgotten about it. I think about Blair's article, which was well written, by the way. And it's been a couple years now, and I was thinking it'd be nice to actually get that on paper and released, and they, yeah. So I haven't forgotten about it, but it's been difficult to say the least. And that's one of those things. There are some templates out there. There's e-Notify. You guys get those when if you're signed up for them, when there's stuff that's released. So you can do like a MyEMMA sort of format, but it's very basic. There's some things that you can sort of really kind of trick that out and build it out a little bit better. But we would really need the expertise for something like that, because you want to do it well. Like, I don't want to just do a newsletter. I want it to be a newsletter that's worthy of this board. And so that's really the trick. If I was just sending out a notice out to our licensee pool or something, that might be a different sort of bag. But we could patch that together, no problem, out the door. But when you're doing something like that, that's going to be public facing. I really want it to be done well, and we're running into some problems on that front, not having sort of the mechanisms for that. But with the admin team building out, my hope has been maybe that's a lifeline for us. So we'll see, but haven't forgotten about it. No.
Is there anything that we as a board can do to help support that, or are you? You
guys did it. Just bringing that up and raising it, and expressing a continued interest in it. Obviously, we want to be responsive to the needs and desires of the board as they communicate with their licensees in the industry, and so now it's not that nothing gets published, because we do press releases. We've done that with Engineers Week. We do that with the grants. And you can find that, and some of those have been picked up. I don't necessarily. I probably should share some of the benefits of that, but our PIO, Public Information Officer, Communications Director, he's every year we do 2 of those a year, and we'll publish on our website, but we'll also send it out for publication, and then it'll get picked up by some of the papers and some of the platforms and throughout. So we've had some good circulation. They can track that and count that. And so there is some exposure. But it's one of those situations, if you start to build out that, if you want to go and have a LinkedIn, or not a LinkedIn page, but if you want to start doing like an Instagram page, or you want to do that, people know when you got professionals behind there doing that, or if you're just doing that yourself, if it's a homemade page. And I don't want us to do a homemade page, so that's kind of where we're at. And so we were getting some support from our communications director office. I mean, we get plenty of support, but as far as a regular circulation, that's a different kind of a deal. So that's why we're exploring the paths.
Any other new business? Hearing none. And should there be no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
See you guys next time.
You're good. It's really just by the design.
I guess that's when you're trying to send you everything, so you're not like asking these things, and like, you got ABC, and I'm like, my bad. Like, so it took one.
We'll all work it out.
But essentially,
I mean, it's just an
file and
I mean,
Yeah, those guys are good. And there's a lot of them. They're employees, so there's nothing that they're gonna know the name of these Now, I will say with our engineers, I usually try to send it to them through the associate. You're not worried about it. Socialize. I remember when we first came out of COVID, like we didn't know what to do. Really?
Just get ourselves on the agenda.
It's very technical. You'll appreciate it. Typically, some of the boards have been on CTOs and bona fide members of the board. They practice everything else is voting. So they tend to make motions. So what do the bylaws say? Is it traditional rules of the order?
You know,
I don't want to make a motion that be
right, yeah.
But we know we can't vote, but that you exercise all other
In
portions.
committees, that's where a lot of that action happens. And you guys can make motions in committees, you know.
But just like on the forum, like Alton probably could have made a motion.
Right.
You can't vote. But you can exercise the other. It's a real technical, but it's also I like to
Well,
be
it
clear on
depends.
operating.
Do they consider a motion a vote?
It's not typically no, in my experience, but. The eyes are where it's at.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Typically, that's what's recorded.
Right. And just technical. I don't want to step out of bounds.
No, I love it. No, stretch us, man.
I just wonder how the bylaws are written.
Yeah, no, I'll take a look at it.
And I'll get you some information piecemeal on that. It might take 3 or 4 months to cover that. Did you really? Language, but I'm pretty sure there's some loopholes in there, even in the rules.
Yeah.
It could probably be. The reason I bring it up is if you look at the typical housing over the last 4 years, it's well over the square footage requirements are not the same as
Yeah.
it's the average.
You see that now. I have 4 brothers and sisters, and we grew up in a house of 1,200 square feet. We think nothing of it, you know what I mean? And now it's like, that's a single person's home now.
The house I live in the basement is,
Yeah.
6,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And there's no engineer that does that.
Yeah.
No,
I'll take a look at motions. We got a new attorney, but we've got a new attorney, and I might just put her on that one. But I think honestly, people who just hear associate engineers don't have to do it here. They're like,
I don't blame them.
How are you? Hey, thank you, ma'am. Seeing safe travels.
No, sir. I know when I popped on the link for the Tennessee ASCE report card too, this email address. Will that get to you?
Yeah. Did you put in? You already sent it?
I did. And just, with this message. Okay, cool.
Listening to your guide.
And
You're going through your
happy to come do a presentation.
Everybody around you. Yeah.
Because if you don't,
You're the weak link. You
Yeah.
So I've got a son that's going to college. You know how it is sometimes when you want to do things the way you want to do it, when you get that little independence. But it was a good teachable moment.
K-O-P-C-H-A-K.
It's like stimulated if you're a roller coaster person. Yeah. Okay. There, now, on a roller coaster, you know you're bucking. You truly believe, okay, I'm gonna be okay. On a raft, you know, you level 5 raft. So it's just get thrown out in a heartbeat, and then you know. If we don't do that, we probably do it. 5, 6, 7.
And I think we got to 6 on the New River. And on the New River